Guys, welcome to part 3 of the series of reading Diary of Wimpy Kid, part 14. We're gonna be reading Diary of Wimpy Kid Wrecking Ball today. Make sure to subscribe if you want to grow quicker on YouTube. So in today's video for you kids, we're just gonna be reading like most all of it today since I have no time whatsoever. We're going to be reading a lot throughout the whole book, probably at this point. I'm going to make this video 12 minutes long, just so you guys have a clear understanding of how long this book actually is. Or it could be 13 minutes. I don't want it to be too long, though. So that's when our first customer started to arrive. I told Rowley we could argue about this later, but for now, we needed to act like professionals. At first, just a few people showed up, but after a while, a lot more came. And when they started checking out my stuff, I went into sales mode. The craftsmanship on this Pokemon is remarkable. One lady seemed interested in a collector's coin I got from my uncle, but she complained that it was dented. So I thought fast and told her the reason it was dented was because it stopped a bullet in World War II. She didn't seem to believe me, though probably because the coin was dated last year. I spent a lot of time trying to close that deal, and I started worrying that people were stealing behind my back. Unfortunately, my theft prevention manager was totally useless because he was busy playing with the magnet set. So that's not a normal part of this book, though. So I told Rowley he'd better start doing his job or he was gonna get fired. But Rowley said it wasn't a real job anyway because he wasn't getting paid. I explained that I hadn't sold anything yet and didn't have any money to pay him with. So when he said he was leaving, I told him he could pick out one item from any table that could be his payment. Raleigh seemed pretty excited about that idea, and I thought for sure he'd choose the magnet set, but he headed straight for the rare items table. I explained that those things were for paying customers only, and that maybe he'd be interested in something from the fun toys table. But Rowley couldn't budge. Eventually he settled on the vampire bat shield. And I was okay with that because it was really just a broken umbrella. But now Rowley was so worried about bats that he couldn't concentrate on his job. While Rowley was fooling around with his stupid umbrella, I thought I saw a guy take an action figure from the collectibles table and stuff it in his pocket. So I ran over to deal with him. But the only things in the guy's pockets were some tissues and car keys. I was glad I was staying alert, though, because I headed off a major disaster. A pickup truck pulled alongside the curb, and some guy from Worley Street, which is kind of a weird street to call, started piling my stuff into the back. I asked him what he was doing, and he said, since tomorrow was trash day, I thought he thought the stuff by the curb was for grabs. But I didn't have time to explain the concept of the yard sale to this guy because all of a sudden I had an even bigger problem to deal with. It started to rain and everyone was heading back to their cars. I was worried I might never get this many people to come to the yard sale again. And I wanted to sell something to make all the effort worth it. So I went around and marked down the prices of every item. Then it started really raining, and I knew I was gonna have to do something drastic. I threw a bunch of stuff into boxes and offered even bigger discounts. But by then it was too late anyway. I knew that if I didn't get my stuff inside, it was all gonna get ruined. So I asked Raleigh to keep his umbrella over my most valuable items while I ran everything else into the garage. But Raleigh wasn't any help at all. He said his shift had just ended and it was time for him to go home. So I was on my own. I tried carrying a box of comic books into the garage, but by now the box was soggy and the bottom gave out. Seems like a hard thing to deal with, right? When you have something like that. It took me about 100 trips to get everything into the garage. But I probably shouldn't have even bothered because most of my stuff was already ruined. I figured I could still make one sale, though I told mom that paper flour was all hers for $3. Unfortunately, by then she'd changed her mind. I'm actually kind of glad nobody bought anything from my yard sale the other day, because if I ever get famous, that stuff is going to be worth a lot of more money than I was asking for it. I'd feel pretty dumb if I sold one of my old homework assignments for 50 cents and then someone auctioned it off later on for a few $1,000s. One day, they probably make my childhood home into one of those places schools visit on field trips. Not gonna lie, it does happen frequently. And if that happens, they're gonna want to have all the authentic stuff I owned growing up. The reason I'm not already famous is because when you're a kid, they keep you busy with school and homework. So there's not a lot of time left over to make a name for yourself. But one of the ways a kid can actually get famous is by becoming a hero. My parents watch the news every night, and there's always a story about a kid saving someone from choking or something like that. The problem is those kinds of opportunities don't come around that often. And believe me, I've tried to put myself in the right place for that sort of thing to happen. Probably not a good thing though. But I've gotten kind of tired of waiting, so I decided to try and create a situation where I was guaranteed to be a hero. I figured if I saved someone from a dog attack, they'd probably make a statue of me and put it in the town park, which would be pretty cool. Raleigh didn't seem so sure about my idea when I explained it to him. But when I said he'd be a part of the statue too, he's changed his tune. So I got some bacon out of our refrigerator and had Raleigh stuff it in his pockets. When we went around the neighborhood looking for some dogs, we did attract some dogs, but they weren't the kind I was looking for. Raleigh got so nervous about the dogs following us that he ate the uncooked bacon, which I've heard can be really bad for you. So I told his parents what happened, and they took him to a doctor just to be sure. I guess I saved Raleigh's life after all. which does sort of make me a hero if you think about it. But I don't know if that's really the kind of thing they make a statue into a statue. That's it, guys, for today. I think I will not be finishing the book today. Sometime next week, I'll be finishing it for you. And then we'll start on Diary of Wimpy Kid, The Getaway. But yeah, make sure to subscribe for this channel to grow quicker on YouTube. And yeah, I'll see y'all later. Peace.